Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. DeJoy, for being here. Let me see if I can ask a few questions to get started that will maybe help clear out some of this uh, misinformation that we have heard repeated over and over and over again in the media, and some of it echoed today. Just to be clear, will USPS have enough cash on hand to support operating expenses through the November election?
Yes, sir.
Has the Postal Service seen an increase actually in total operating revenues in the most recently reported quarter relative to last year?
Yes, sir. Small, but yes.
Has the Postal Service seen its overall cash on hand position increase since the start of the pandemic in March to a level of approximately 15 billion? Is that right?
Somewhere between 14 and 15 billion. Yes.
So, if I've understood your testimony correctly today, what I've heard you say, and also what I've read in your written testimony, your testimony to us is that the Postal Service has the wherewithal, it has the resources, it has what it needs in order to deliver the mail safely and on time through the November election. Just to be clear about that, is that right?
So yes, Senator. There's two separate things though. To deliver on the election and cash to operate the business in the future are two separate things. But yes, we have plenty of cash to operate for the election.
Yeah, no, just on that second point, since you bring it up, what's your estimate of the amount of additional assistance that you require as you look toward the future, past November and into the months and years to come?
I think we have had, so the biggest thing we need is legislative reform and the PRC to decide. But I estimated about $10 billion. We estimate about $10 billion cost on the COVID expense side. And what I would like to see is the note that we have negotiated with Treasury be used to get long-term financing to buy new vehicles.
Can I just ask you about that since you bring up the note from Treasury? So the CARES Act authorized 10 billion in borrowing authority. I understand that you reached USPS and the Treasury Department came to an agreement late last month in principle over what that would be, what that would look like. Can you give us a sense of when this 10 billion that was authorized, it's a loan, when this is likely to be made available to you, what you see its utility as? Just give us an update on where that stands.
So we have terms of agreement, and all we would need to do is when we request it, get a final document on it. But the terms have been agreed. I mean, the issue here with borrowing money is you need to know how you're going to pay it back. And at this particular point, we're evaluating that, but it is available to us pretty quickly.
And what do you anticipate using it for in the near term, assuming that you do avail yourselves of it?
There's pretty specific limitation. I cannot use it for capital, but I can use it to cover operating costs that are closely associated with COVID, and we can identify that pretty easily.
Now, you said just a second ago, when you first introduced the topic of the loan, you said that you would like additional authority to perhaps use the loan toward vehicles or as collateral for vehicles. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, so we have, you probably know, we have many 30-year-old vehicles and that we're desperately in need of new vehicles. The loan is not for capital. I would like to see the term extended and used as a capital type equipment loan to buy vehicles and other types of modernization efforts that we have. But longer term than 5 years.
Very good. And so that is part of the sort of the additional legislative reforms or authorizations you seek. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, sir.
And got it. Go ahead.
They've already been passed in a committee a couple of years ago, what we're looking for.
Right. Understood. Let's come back to some of the reforms that you had recently implemented. To what degree were any of the changes that you implemented over the summer a response to the OIG's recent findings?
I consider the OIG's recent findings, as we were doing our own analytics, I thought they were, for somebody new coming in, I thought they were a remarkable gift. in terms of just laying out the two things with that. The system was out of balance. The transportation system, 40,000 trucks a day were running. Once you get below, below 90%, you can't depend on anything, right? So that was, and then there was a cost gift. So both things, when I came in here, looking at where the organization was headed financially, and what was the thing we could balance around getting that transportation network aligned, which we will do, and saving a billion and a half to $2 billion, which we can reach for, was a Christmas present. I was elated.
Very good. Let me just ask you here. I see my time has almost expired, but let me just ask you in conclusion. I mean, as you probably know, my home state of Missouri, we have a very significant percentage of our population in rural areas. It's the part of the state that I'm from, where I grew up. It is absolutely vital to me that any postal service reform going forward continue to preserve the network of rural delivery service, that it preserves the existing delivery and post office box services that are available throughout rural Missouri. So can I just ask you, are you committed to protecting rural delivery and rural post offices for people like the folks I represent in Missouri and around the country?
So we have an unbelievable asset in our letter carriers reaching every American each day. And I commit to trying to strengthen that relationship across the country.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. DeJoy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.